Your thoughts are not facts. This is one of the things that comes up time and time and time again and tends to be incredibly valuable for myself, for my clients, is this idea that thoughts are not facts. I used to have this kind of belief that everything that I thought was true, or everything that I thought made logical sense, and it was worthy. So if I have an idea about something, if I think something, it must be true because I'm a rational, logical being. And so if I'm thinking it, then it makes sense and it must be true, or at least true for me. I would really encourage you to start questioning that. And I know that might feel a bit jarring, but I have thoughts every single day that aren't true. There might be things that I perceive in a certain way and then later realize I was wrong. There might be things that I genuinely think have happened, and my partner will tell me, oh, no, that's actually not how it happened. It actually happened a different way. Or I'll see evidence. I'll go back through the text. So I'm constantly thinking things are true that actually aren't true. And it can be really useful to see this, not just in terms of what happened at what time with what person, right? Not just the things on the outside, but things on the inside too. She didn't like me, as an example, right? That's an example of a thought I might have that looks like a fact, it feels like a fact, but actually might not be a fact, right? Or I just can't, I'm just no good at reading, right? I get partway through a book and then I put it down and I forget about it, or I don't have time and I can never get through a book. I'm just no good at reading, right? That's an example of a thought that looks like a fact, but actually it may or may not be. We don't know what's going to happen the next time I pick up a book. I might pick up the most fascinating, unput downable book I've ever had in my life, and suddenly I finish that book. It's like, oh wow, okay, I guess it wasn't true. Things that we say about ourselves aren't necessarily true. And quite often we make things up, we make assumptions about what other people think or how other people are going to react. And then we take it on as though it's true. And so we make adjustments in our lives because that person's going to react in that way when I say, I don't know, I have to take a couple of days off work for a health reason. My boss is going to react in this way, so then I can't do it. Or this is going to be a really, really difficult conversation for me to have. These are all examples of things that we might think are true. But in reality, when we step back, even just inside of ourselves, we can think, oh, maybe that's not true. And then we actually go and do the thing, have the conversation, and we realize it wasn't as bad as we thought. So it can be really valuable just to start to consider that you don't have to believe everything you think. You can take some of your thoughts with a pinch of salt. You don't have to take your own thinking at face value, because guess what? Sometimes we're wrong. And that can be a really, really valuable thing to see, that sometimes we're wrong about the things that we think they're not always true. And the more willing that we are to take a step back and to consider that they're not always true, the more likely we are to snap out of it. The more quickly we are, the dust will settle and the clouds will clear, and we can be like, oh yeah, okay, I thought that was true. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know right now. I don't need to make, I don't need to jump into it. I don't need to dive into that lava because I don't know. In this moment, from where I'm standing, I don't know if it's true or not. And that's so much more powerful than I know that this is true, because there's no room there. There's no room for me to see anything new. There's no room for me to potentially be wrong. And when I'm operating from this is true, no matter what anyone says, no matter what, it's like, this is true, I'm closing myself off to what might really be true, or possibility that might really be available. So the more willing I am to take my own thinking with a pinch of salt, to consider that what I'm thinking in a moment may or may not be true, especially when I'm in a heightened, more intense, more panicked, more urgent, more nervous, more anxious place inside of myself. That's a really good time to question the validity of my thoughts. Thoughts aren't always facts. In fact, thoughts are never facts. Thoughts can point to the truth, but a thought in itself is not a fact. And the more that I can, maybe see that that's like a thought might be true and a thought might not be true, the more that I can look at my real thoughts that I'm having inside of my head and consider that they're falsifiable, it's possible for that thought to be false. The more space I have, the more freedom I have, the more curiosity I have, the more creativity I have, the more willing I am to see what's really true when I'm out of my own head about what I think is true. I hope that's helpful. All the best.